Hi there, it's the worst Valorant YouTuber you know, and today I want to grade and rank each Valorant team's roster moves today. I'm only going to cover changes that happened between the start of kickoffs and directly at the end of Split 1. If this video gets 300 likes, I'll do a part 2 about Split 2, since it looks like some spicy changes are coming to some teams. First, I want to label these next two teams as happy accidents, where they were forced to make roster changes they probably didn't plan for, but in the long run turned out well nonetheless. I'm talking about both DRX and Crew Esports. I'm giving DRX an A. They brought in Bean, and Flashback was moved into an inactive role due to personal reasons outside of the game. DRX went on an absolute tear since this happened and sported the best record in their group of 5-0, beating out Paper X. Honestly, DRX should have went to Shanghai in my opinion, but the format denied them. They lost to both Genji and Paper X, the top two teams in that league. I'm pretty sure if they faced T1 instead, then we would have a different third place team repping the APAC region heading into China. I'm giving Crew an A-, mainly because it's kind of hard to judge their roster move, because in kickoff, the only team that they faced was G2, and they ended up losing to G2 again in the playoffs of Split 1. G2 also went through some roster changes too, so it's not the same team that they face. However, Heat seems to be an amazing replacement for MTA, who injured his hand. They finished with a 4-1 record during the regular season of Split 1, which included a win against 100 Thieves, the same 100 Thieves that made it to Shanghai as the #1 Americas team. However, due to matchups, they couldn't get past Leviathan or G2. Their Split 1 run was just a testament to how competitive the Americas region really is. It would be interesting to see what Crew and DRX do now. I don't know if MTA's hand has fully healed, but a couple of weeks ago he was playing rank. Regardless, you surely keep running this current personnel, right? Unlucky for MTA and Flashback, but this kind of thing happens all the time in the NFL, where the starting QB gets injured and the new one leads the team to new heights, and they kind of forget about the old QB. And I guess I can add Paper X to the list of happy accidents too, since Jing wasn't originally planned to come back to the team. I'm giving them an A. I mean, come on guys, it's Jing. And his addition has already brought huge upsides for this team. They went from the second best APAC team to now the best by beating Genji in the grand finals. They're one of the favorites to win Masters Shanghai, and don't worry, I'm knocking on wood. It does suck that Mania is now on the reserve roster. He's getting the same treatment that Sai got when Sasuke came back towards the end of Naruto. Nonetheless, Maniet's raise was starting to fit towards the end of Masters Madrid, and his Omen was among the best at the event. He definitely has the talent to help any team looking to be competitive, and it seems like RRQ thinks so too. However, team synergy and chemistry is very important, and you can tell that Paper X just flows better now that the band is back together. Now I want to mention Trace Esports, who I'm going to be giving a B for their roster change. They look good in both kickoffs and China Split 1. They swapped Flexin for Liu King, which made them look better. They played Edward Gaming in both and looked better in their Split 1 matchup. They could have legitly beat EDG on both Sunset and Breeze, where each map went into overtime. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough in playoffs. I honestly didn't think they needed to get rid of Flexin, who is now on Tyloo, the same Tyloo where Flexin was previously on. They basically just traded players. However, I will be giving Tyloo a B+ because they went from the bottom of the barrel in China to now being a bit more competitive of a team against others in their region. They actually beat Dragon Ranger Gaming as well as Nova Esports in their rematch. So surely they got better. And that's a pretty big jump in my opinion. And I'll also be giving Heretics an A too. I was kind of hesitant of putting them in this because they didn't really add anyone to their team. The game plan was always for Woot to join the team during Split 1. It was just kind of delayed a little bit because of visa issues. Nonetheless, they did a pretty good job handling the whole roster issues, and they were able to qualify for Shanghai. Low-key, Heretics kind of proved that a 6-man roster can work in Valorant, but let's just hope that DRX's head coach Termi doesn't use his Heretics season so far as justification for one. Next is G2. I'll give them an A+. They brought in Icy as the duelist and let their Sentinel player in net go. This change also pushed Leaf into the Sentinel role. During kickoff, the only teams that they lost to was Evil Geniuses and MIBR. Teams in my opinion they should have beaten. They actually came out on top against the Masters Madrid winners and Sentinels, but failed to move on from play-ins due to round differentials. However, in Split 1, they flipped the script, and this time they were able to squeak past Sentinels because of round differentials. Just 2 rounds in fact. And then went on to beat both Cloud9, Leviathan, and Crew, teams that had better regular season records than them. I still don't think net was the reason why they failed to move on, during kickoffs though. During that time, two things stuck out to me about G2. One, they played way too much Sunset despite always losing on that map. I guess they thought Sunset was their best area to go to, and possibly could have been since they had massive leads on that map multiple times, which segues me to the other characteristics of G2 during kickoffs. They lost massive leads a bit too much. At first you could have said their defense on Sunset was bad, but when they faced Sentinels, it was in fact their offense that failed them, since they couldn't win a single round as attackers. However, during Split 1, they only played Sunset once, where they lost to 100 Thieves in the grand finals. But hey, who would have thought that banning the map that you keep losing on would be the secret recipe to making legitimate progress? It kind of reminds me how Sentinel started banning Ascent since they had a loss streak on that map too. However, the boys in red eventually were able to get a win on that map, which I'm sure G2 will be able to do on Sunset in the future. Regardless, Icy is a good duelist, and basically Leaf for net on Sentinel role seems to be an upgrade. Now we have Giant X. Whew. I said their name slowly because I don't want YouTube to restrict my video because the algorithm thinks I said something else. Nonetheless, I'm giving them a D. They were winless in kickoff, but mainly because Group A was the group of death, having the likes of Foot Esports, Carmine Corp, and Team Heretics. However, if we compare their Carmine Corp matchup before and after Masters Madrid, they looked worse despite having a longer time to prepare for it than KC, especially on Sunset where they actually beat the blue wall on in kickoffs but lost during Split 1. After that, they went on a massive losing streak. And don't get me wrong, Purple has had some ups and downs, and he did replace Nukie. However, I still don't believe he was the main issue. He left because of what he calls role issues.
Okay. Main reason, role difference. That's the main reason why I love GX. Also the reason that the team stagnated hard and we couldn't get the results we wanted to get.
Guys, it's funny. Oh, that was
And the third one, I think I play better different roles and I need to play those roles instead of filling on something I don't know how to play. Thank you for attention.
Could be close.
Which is kind of weird and interesting at the same time because he still played a lot of Sentinel last year too, with hints of Raze and KO here and there. It'll be kind of interesting what they do from here because Purple has had flashes of brilliance as well as slumps too. Regardless, I'm giving Furia a C+ because Nazwir has been on fire for this team. It's just unfortunate that he's still on a losing team. He's replacing Lazy, who was okay during kickoffs. It's kind of surprising that they let him go since in my opinion he wasn't their worst player. Furia was winless in kickoff and still are winless. They came close to beating NRG on Breeze during kickoff, but if we fast forward to Split 1, they ended up getting destroyed by them, meaning they kind of went backwards despite getting an upgrade in position. Overall, they have the talent to at least be competitive among all the other Americas teams, but they're still subject to a lot of blowouts. I think what they really need to do is improve their in-game calling and or coaching staff too. Here, I'm giving C9 a B+. They made a decent jump from failing to make it out of an easy Group A to having a 5-1 record during the regular season. It turns out that bringing in Rooney and Moose was a good idea. However, in classic C9 fashion, they failed to win games when they counted the most. I mean, they almost did force a map 3 against G2, but that's just shoulda coulda woulda, you know? At least they didn't drop their star player this time. Titan Esports Club is getting a C-. They brought in AC and before this roster move it was RB and friends, and after this roster move it's still RB and friends. I'm still going to give them a C because at least their new pickup seems to be an upgrade and at times outfrags RB, just not constantly. Same for Abu. Here I'm giving Nova Esports a C+. They made it into playoffs and were able to beat Tech. They brought in Swervo, who actually outperformed RB when both were playing Raze. However, him outplaying T-Virus Luke on Raze wasn't enough for them to get past Dragon Ranger Gaming. Lastly, we have Bleed, who on paper may have done the right thing in picking up Zess. He was probably one of the best available players in the APAC region. Red Lab probably wasn't an upgrade though. However, I think we might have to give them an F. I don't like doing this, but Bleed just looks worse now. I really feel bad for everyone who was and currently is on this team. Ye might be feeling a little bit like Drake right now. It's basically a 20v1, man. The guy's getting hate from both the Americas and APAC region in the form of players and fan bases, who might be the two largest in VCT. Then you have Egoist saying that he's retiring to pursue uni, which sucks because he's quite talented too. At the end of the day, winning cures all, and Bleed has only done that once this season. It's just not enough. However, reviewing the before and after of all these teams' trades, it seems like making roster moves has done more good than harm. Well, most of the time anyways. Let me know down below if I missed any other roster changes, and I'll include them in the part 2 if this video gets 300 likes. I avoided talking about coaching changes since this video would have been a bit longer, but regardless, stay safe and I'll see you in the next one.